Now 8:09 with Whitney Houston's best friend and closest confidant. We've been sharing Robyn Crawford's story over the past few days, and this morning she is with us for an exclusive live interview. Robyn first met the future pop star when they were teenagers, and they quickly became inseparable. Until now, she's never spoken publicly about their relationship, but in her new book, A Song for You, Robyn Crawford is finally sharing everything from their intimacy to Whitney's battle with drug addiction. We're going to talk to Robyn in just a moment, but first, more on Whitney Houston's dramatic life in the spotlight. With that mind-blowing voice and irresistible charisma, Whitney Houston commanded the charts in the 80s and 90s. With hit after hit, sellout tours, and on-screen roles, she became one of the biggest pop stars of all time.
She just had a very angelic, beautiful presence about her.
Robyn Crawford was Whitney Houston's best friend, and more.
We were intimate on many levels. All I can say was that it was very deep, and we were very connected.
After nearly 4 decades of silence, she's now opening up in her new book.
We just loved each other. It was beautiful. And I hope that in doing this, that there would be no more questions.
And she's speaking out about Whitney's lifelong struggle with drugs. When did you realize that the drugs had become a problem?
I would remind Whitney, now you know we said doing coke couldn't go where we're going. She was having difficulty stopping.
Houston died from accidental drowning in 2012 and the effects of heart disease and cocaine use.
And I was shattered. I could still feel that.
Now, 7 years later, Robyn Crawford is also revealing more joyful memories to help cherish and celebrate Whitney Houston's remarkable legacy.
I watched her rise to the top of her game, and I felt compelled to share who that woman was behind all the fame.
Robyn Crawford, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with the woman behind the fame, because you told me that she was thoughtful, she was generous. What was the Whitney Houston like that the public didn't know?
Well, you know, I will start with where the public met her, which is on stage. And she loved her fans immensely, deeply. I'll tell you, we were playing, this was the first tour, and we were playing the Dome in New Orleans, which was a 50,000 seat facility. And the tour manager came backstage, and we're in the dressing room, and he says, listen, Whitney, the place is not full. There's only 10,000 tickets sold. And she was like, okay. And he was like borderline whether or not the promoter wanted to go through with it. Yeah. Because, you know, it wasn't full. Yeah. So she said, well, they bought tickets too. And she went out there and they draped off half of the dome. Yeah. And it was about 10,000 people, which were like 10 people. Yeah. And when the show was done, I asked her, I said, so how was it? She said it was a very intimate setting. So Whitney she was thoughtful and beautiful.
One of the questions that I've gotten most over the past week or so since your story went public is why? Why now? Why would Robyn Crawford come forward now? Whitney Houston's been dead 7 years. There have been a number of documentaries already done. Why now?
I savored my memories working with Whitney. And, you know, when I think of her and I think of the rise and how beautiful it was and the person behind that, that spirit, that strong, steadfast spirit that she had, it was a possession of hers. And fast forward to the struggles that she had, for me, it began to cover her. That person that I knew behind the gowns and, you know, all done, there was that person, that young woman inside. I could always see her. And I felt with all the tone that had become negative, and those that were speaking about how it was with her.
You didn't want her to always be remembered as a drug addict and someone who just had this tumultuous relationship with Bobby Brown. You felt like her legacy deserved more.
Well, I felt like all that she had left us, all the accolades, all the awards were like she was covered with all the tragedy.
Yeah.
Her legacy was just covered. And I just wanted to reach and pick her up, take everyone into the Whitney that I know that chose this career, who was ready for this career, who elevated to heights that one could only dream of. I wanted to lift her legacy where she could hold it.
Let's go. I want to go back to the early 80s here for a moment, because her career starts to take off. Then she signs with Arista Records, and then she comes to you one day and she tells you that the physical part of your relationship has to stop. Why did she do that?
Well, obviously she felt it was necessary. You know, I didn't question Whitney why she chose to do things. I listened to her. If I felt a need to express, you know, my opinion, I did. Sometimes she would say, "Did I ask you?" So in this case, you know, I took her lead. It's kind of like, here is someone who is asking something more of me. Mm-hmm. And we had our eyes set on the love of her gift and reaching people, and she wanted me by her side in every way. Whitney was someone, she was the kind of person you wanted to love. And loving her unconditionally for me would only make our love strengthen.
How hard was it for you when she decided to marry Bobby Brown?
How hard was it for me?
Yeah.
I mean, this was a choice. This was a choice of hers, of someone that she said she loved and wanted to spend the rest of her life with. I supported that.
How did you see her change after the marriage?
You know, I wasn't around that much where I could clock every change. The behaviors that I saw, I was uncomfortable with.
What kind of behaviors?
Well, you know, everything that was in the press.
The drugs.
The disputes. The
fights.
We'd be in the middle of an award show or be coming off of a great tour, and Whitney would be asked the questions, even though she was not with her husband. So what's up, you know, what's going on with Bobby? I just, you know, it was a lot for her to take on. It was a lot for us to manage.
You left the inner circle as a result of Bobby Brown. There was a...
That's not true.
No?
No. Bobby was annoying. He was very annoying.
So why did you two end up falling out?
Who?
You and Whitney.
You know what? Whitney and I didn't fall out. I was always there for her. She knew that.
But Robyn, you didn't talk to her for, it was 15 years. When she died, you two were estranged.
We talked, we were never estranged. Estranged means that someone calculated and said, okay, you don't come here, you know, that is not true.
But you stopped working for it. You stopped working.
I moved on because I felt like I had done all that I could do, but she knew where to find me.
And Bobby had nothing to do with that.
You know what? Bobby had something to do with the moment of me where I said I had enough. But even then, I was still on her payroll for, you know, close to a month after that.
Do you think that if you had been as close as you were to her in the 80s, that Whitney might still be alive today?
You know what? I don't know what would happen, what would have happened if I would have stayed. What I do know is that my love for her and the bond that we had allows me to sit here today.
I want to ask you about something while I have you here. The disturbing claims that came out in that documentary, Kevin McDonald's documentary, last year. In the film, there were allegations that Whitney was molested by a cousin when she was small. Dionne Warwick's sister, Dee Dee Warwick. Did she ever mention that to you?
No, she did not. she never mentioned to me that she was molested by Dee Dee. And we talked a lot about our families, and she shared, you know, her concerns about her family and disappointments and the love of her family. And if there was any truth to that, I would know about it.
I know that you are a fairly private person. How are you? I mean, over the past week or so, your name, your face, it's all out there for the world to see. How are you holding up?
You know, like I want to celebrate Whitney. I know how Whitney felt sitting in the hot seat. And I just feel that if I am going to take the moment to sit here, I want to share the beautiful things about this person. And she's been with me throughout. I wouldn't have been able to tell the story that I've written without Whitney, without my mother, without my brother. And what I will say is, on my way here, I was thinking of her, and she said, "Welcome to my world."
Robyn Crawford, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Again, the book is A Song for You. And for more about the book, you can head to today.com/shop. Let's head over to Al for another check of the weather.